Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion for another week on this Monday, the 28th of October, 2024. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Odyssey channel, and the Wilms Front Rumble channel. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria. Thank you to everyone who tuned into our election night stream for the Queensland state election. Thank you to 99 Iron Duke, my colleague at the Unshackled, senior editor Damien Ferry, Ben Shand, the Dusty Bogan, Dave Right Now, and Maddie Stagg for being part of our panel. We were live for 5 hours. Obviously, Queensland is an hour behind, so we ended up going past midnight here on the southeast coast, partly because it was a very slow count. It was stuck on about 20% for an hour. Now, it was the election day votes which were counted first, which hinted at a close result with the Liberal National Party looking like they would just fall over the line. The polls had tightened in the final week. The final news poll was the LNP 52.5 to the Labor Party Premier Stephen Miles 47.5. But once the early votes had been counted, it was a comfortable win for the Liberal National Party, securing a majority of seats in the Queensland Parliament. And David Crisafulli, the LNP leader, today was sworn in as the state's 41st Premier. Hello to Paleoconservative Australian. How many seats did One Nation win? Well, the news on that regard is they won 0 seats. So yes, that was, I think, the meme that was first used by the 0 seats campaigners for the Conservatives in the UK general election. It's been a busy election year. Obviously, we've got the big one, the US presidential election coming up in just over a week. There's also just been the Japanese parliamentary elections where the ruling party, which the Liberal Democratic Party, which has basically ruled most of post-war Japan, lost its majority. So yes, One Nation, they disendorsed their only state MP in Queensland. That was Stephen Andrew, who then defected to the Qatar Australian Party, and looks like he is on track to be re-elected, which is, and according to James Ashby, Pauline Hanson's chief of staff and the failed One Nation candidate for Kefla, he was a lazy MP because he didn't in his 7 years in the parliament didn't propose one private members bill. Castle Match, of course, we are doing a US presidential election results live stream. So we get the results in Australia because we basically are a day ahead. We get the results on the Wednesday, the 6th of November, around about lunchtime. So that's when I'll be beginning our coverage, and we'll have another all-star panel. Stephen Berry from the Mr. Berry show, and also Trad Tasman Talk will be part of our coverage, and many other special guests as well. Iron Duke will be returning. Paleoconservative Australian. Didn't One Nation used to get 20% of the vote? Well, as has in the aftermath of a One Nation's disappointing election result, why don't we have a look at how the current state of the count is? So 70% counted. So this is according to the ABC's Anthony Green. The LNP are on 48 seats. The ALP 31. The Greens are hanging on to 1. There was a lot of optimism during the evening that the Greens had won 0 seats. Again, the meme just announced Queensland Greens 0 seats. And Amy McMahon, their member for South Brisbane, looks like she is going to lose her seat because the Liberal National Party didn't preference her that time. She looks like the stereotypical Greens MP, doesn't she? The short hair, the large glasses, and the extravagant earrings there. So Paleoconservative Australian says, I would vote for NSN. Well, there's no write-in candidates for Australian elections, but you can write in candidates in most states over in the United States. Hello to Dawn Browning. I don't think I saw you watching our coverage on Saturday night. So there are 9 seats still in doubt. So if we go down to them here, so the seat Marani, that's the one where Stephen Andrew is currently ahead. That's in central Queensland. And the South Brisbane, the ABC hopes that there could be Amy McMahon of the Greens could make a late comeback if the LNP passes Labor on postals and the flow of One Nation preferences. So if the way a preferential voting system works, if the LNP got into second position, i.e. then the Labor preferences would elect Amy McMahon. But if Labor continues to be in second, then the LNP preferences will elect Barbara O'Shea. Now let's have a look at the party totals. So the Liberal National Party, a 6% swing to 42%. The Labor Party, 32.7, almost 7% swing. The Greens vote was unchanged. The One Nation vote, just a 0.8% more. So yes, back in the late 90s, the One Nation won 11 seats in the 89-seat parliament. It's now a 93-seat parliament, so 47 for a majority. There's an independent on the can't remember where it is, but it's Sandy Bolton is their name. So when the on the day votes were counted, it was looking much closer. So the LNP was only on about 35% primary, the ALP 33%, and that's when Stephen Giggles Miles decided that he would get up and make a self-indulgent speech where he wouldn't concede. Just said that Labor couldn't form majority government, but the LNP would be in a minority, and praised his campaigning skills. And then an hour later, when a LNP parliamentary majority was certain, David Crisafulli got up and declared a victory and said that Queenslanders voted for hope over fear, and that clearly he was talking about the Stephen Miles and Labor's fear campaign on abortion. And they had these core flutes up on the polling booths, the Labor Party. A vote for the LNP is a vote to criminalise abortion. And then another poster was, this man wants to control your body. And now David Crisafulli, back in 2018, 2018, when abortion up until birth was legalized in Queensland, he voted against, like any sane person would. But when Robbie Katter of Katter's Australian Party said that he would propose legislation that would protect the unborn, although he said the words he used that he wanted to recriminalize it, but then he backtracked and said that only babies who are born alive is the private members bill. But David Crisafulli kept saying it's not part of our plan. We've ruled it out. Even a pro-life MP said that. And Amanda Stoker, the former LNP federal senator who was elected to state parliament, she didn't say anything about abortion during the campaign. So they ran a million miles away from, because most LNP members voted against legalizing abortion up until birth. And then at the People's Forum, Sky News People's Forum, last Wednesday evening, I think it was, Stephen Miles asked, do you believe in a woman's right to choose? And Crisafulli said that it may disappoint your TikTok followers, but yes. And he was very clear in his victory speech that he wouldn't be touching the abortion law, when he said, tomorrow we get to work and we do what we say we were going to do, and we don't do what we say we wouldn't do. And we have a contract with Queenslanders. We intend to honor it. That also means that David Crisafulli won't be changing his mind on having nuclear power plants in Queensland, which puts him at odds with the federal LNP leader, Peter Dutton, which is his signature policy in the next election. And he's also said that he won't sack public servants, and said that he wants them to be secure in their jobs. So they're still scared of the ghost of Campbell Newman, even though he's not even in the party anymore. He's with the Libertarian Party. He only fielded 4 candidates. Dusty and Maddie, they volunteered for the Libertarian Party on election day. That's where the nationalists seem to be flocking to, because they figured out that One Nation is, well, it's always been a dictatorship by Pauline Hanson and their inner circle, but the second incarnation has been a dictatorship by Pauline Hanson and James Ashby. And if you look at all the MPs who've fallen by the wayside since Pauline Hanson was elected to the Senate in 2016, so there's Rod Cullerton, there's Brian Burston, there's Mark Latham, there's Craig Kelly. There's still, obviously, Laura Game in South Australia and Ricky Lee Tyrrell, who are still in the party. So I noticed that John Lawson wrote an article over at the National Observer talking about strategic libertarianism. I'll see if I can get it up here. But Dunder Viking, who Lachlan Lade, who I've had on Wilms Front before, he's a nationalist, and he's on the ticket for the Libertarian Party at the next federal election. So, and the Libertarian Party, it does have active branches. Here is the article here by John Lawson. It's called Tactical Libertarianism. Now, obviously, there is so it goes through the points that the uniting the right, nationalist policy positions, candidates and leadership, obviously John Ruddock in New South Wales, the MLC, and David Limbrick in the Victoria, definitely leading the charge against woke and waste. But obviously, there are divergent opinions in the Libertarian Party over mass migration. The ACT Libertarian Party praised Indian migrants as hard working and starting businesses. That's obviously not the point, and it completely sidesteps the fact that, well, through mass migration, not just through the Indian mass migration, but other groups, they're not assimilating, integrating. They're running a parallel communities in various suburbs in Australia. Paleoconservative Australian, the only issue that matters is immigration. Nothing else comes close. Obviously, free speech is definitely important, and as is, well, freedom itself, which was totally, absolutely assassinated in Australia during the COVID lockdowns and mandates. And again, the irony of Stephen Miles to say that he supports women's bodily autonomy. What about when they were forced to get the COVID vaccine? Otherwise, they'd basically be locked out of civil society and employment. And they also know what a woman is again. Remember, Shannon Fentiman, the women's minister and health minister, couldn't answer what a woman is. Now, the poor performance of the Greens, I know that the Queensland Jewish collective, they're certainly taking credit for some of the collapse in support for the Greens. This was, well, the volunteers here were Iranian Aussies, but the sign that they were holding, the Greens support terrorism, put the Greens last, that was authorised by the Queensland Jewish collective. And as you can see, that's Drew Pavlou next to them, who he put the Greens last but voted for the Labor Party first. And now Drew Pavlou, he claims to be a Liberal Democrat, but he celebrated Candace Owens being denied a visa by the Home Affairs and Immigration Minister, Tony Burke, who, well, he didn't deny a visa to Kelly J. Keane or Jordan Peterson for the ARC conference, which was an invite only in Sydney last week. And that's when also Jacinta Price, it was there that she told the 9 newspapers that she wanted abortion to be a federal issue, and called abortions after the first trimester immoral, and late-term abortions infanticide. Now, she was slapped down by other coalition women such as Jane Hume and Susan Ley, though it was backed in by Barnaby Joyce and Matt Canavan, though other nationals, including leader David Littleproud, said it's a federal issue. And now Candace Owens, and supposedly Tony Burke, he used to be a socially conservative Catholic, but not anymore. And he is, well, he is the most important lobby group for him. Well, it's actually not the Jewish lobby group, it's the Islamist lobby group, because his electorate of Watson is 25% Muslim. But he thought he'd throw the Jewish lobby a bone by denying Candace Owens a visa for her tour, or planned tour, which was going to be organised by Damien Costas and Joel Jamal. So Tony Berkey previously said in August that hope she has a good refund policy. And he and the Jewish lobby groups, they deliberately misrepresented Candace Owens' views. So he told the 9 newspapers, from downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about German SS officer Joseph Mengele through to the claim that Muslims started slavery, Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction. Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. Dan Tehan, the Liberal Party's immigration spokesman, said in August that Labor should block Owens to avoid the spread of hateful messages. And the cancellation was praised by President of the Zionist Federation of Australia, President Jeremy Liebler, son of powerful lawyer Mark Liebler, of Arnold Bloch Liebler, Dan Andrews' favourite lawyer whenever he needed a contract to be cancelled. And also, I co-chair of the referendum working group backing the Aboriginal voice to Parliament. The CEO of the Zionist Federation of Australia, Alan Castuo, they both lobbied for a visa to be denied. And Castuo said bigotry and anti-Semitism are unacceptable in any form, regardless of whether they originate from the left or the right. And I heard him on 3OW with Tom Elliott this morning. And Tom Elliott, he's like one of the biggest Zionist Jewish advocates in the media, but he didn't support Candace Owens being banned and asked Alon, what about free speech? And he said, this is not about free speech. This is about hate speech. And it's okay for people to watch Candace Owens on YouTube. He wasn't impressed on whether he thinks Candace Owens should be banned from YouTube. But for people to gather in Australia to listen to her, it could incite violence. What? After people have been to the Candace Owens speaking event, they're going to engage in another Kristallnacht, night of the broken glass, and start vandalizing synagogues. Is that what he's thinking is going to happen after a Candace Owens event? Of course, Candace Owens is not a Holocaust denier. She has talked about, when she's talked about, they claim that she talks about a Jewish cabal controlling the world. She's talking about a Jewish sect, the Satanic Frankists. And of course, there are various sects in Christianity who are, well, they're so far detached from the Bible that they basically are just evil cults as well. This is unique to every religion. It's not unique to any religion. All of them have these various cults in it. And of course, Davir Abramovich, he, of course, the hyperbolic king of the Jews, we could say, that he said, this is more than just a visa being revoked. This is a tribute to every single survivor who bore witness to the horrors of Auschwitz. Australia has no place for those who mock the suffering of genocide survivors and insult the memories of the 6 million Jews who perished. Also praising Candace Owens' visa cancellation was the Executive Council of Australian Jewry co-chief Peter Wortham. It said, at times of unprecedented strain, the cohesiveness of Australian society, which is largely the outcome of ignorant and malicious comment on social media. The last thing we need to be importing in our country is yet another so-called celebrity who has made racist and bigoted comments about the Jews and other vulnerable groups. Paleoconservative Australian, why does Davir love multiculturalism for Australia but not Israel? Well, I spoke to you last week about this Ozraeli, who was on Chris Smith Tonight on ADH-TV, who said despite all of the Hezbollah rockets flying over her in northern Israel, she felt safer there because, basically, she was living in an ethno state and could get a job in academia, and that Australia's multiculturalism has deteriorated. So she's saying that multiculturalism doesn't work. I don't know if Avi Yemeni has made a statement, but the right-wing Australian Jewish Association, they denounced Candace Owens being denied a visa, said that even though they find her views abhorrent, they believe in free speech and believe that banning her is counterproductive. So David Adler, of course, he was one of the few, he's a medical doctor, to speak out against the COVID vaccine mandates from the beginning. Dawn Browning says, all these meddlers, it is tiresome. Now, also, last week, we saw with the King's visit to Australia, which culminated with his visit to Chogum in Samoa in the Pacific Islands. Now, the problem with this new software I've got, it limits the amount of clips that I can play, because normally I'd play the clips. But he talked about, when he was talking about because there's this big push now for reparations for slavery, he said, we cannot change the past, but we can learn from it. And he also praised Australia's multiculturalism, making Australia even stronger. That's my Prince Charles impersonation. And of course, his visit to Parliament House was interrupted by Lydia Thorpe, the now independent Victorian senator who was stuck with until June the 30th, 2028, thanks to the Greens putting her at the top of their ticket at the last federal election. So she, of course, ran up to the front, didn't interrupt his speech, but it was afterwards, and said, "You are not my king." Though she's denied that she's broken her affirmation of allegiance when she said King Charles is not her king, which she's required to take where under Section 42 of the Constitution to take her seat in the Senate. And she claimed that she didn't violate her oath because of this loophole.
I swore allegiance to the Queen's hairs. If you listen close enough, it wasn't her heirs, it was her hairs that I was giving my allegiance to. And now that, they're no longer here, I don't know where that stands. But
right, so what's the significance
of that?
I'm not giving up
my job. I'm not resigning.
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law.
Does it invalidate your statement of affirmation?
I'm not an expert on the colonial laws. The only experience I've had with colonial laws is the violence of them, and the violence of pledging allegiance to the oppressor is absolutely out of date and absolutely a disgusting thing.
Of course, she's not going to give up her seat and the 200,000 K plus salary that she earns per year. Now, she had to retake that oath in 2022 because she said the colonizing queen, but the President Sue Lyon said that you have to read it as it is printed. And this week, after Lydia Thorpe said, well, I didn't pledge allegiance to Queen Elizabeth as I said, hairs, the coalition senators, they're wanting to constitutionally challenge her eligibility to sit in the Senate since she didn't properly take the oath of affirmation. Now, in a later interview with Laura Jays on Sky News, said that she simply misspoke and that she's not a grammar expert, and so that's just how she read it. So they're trying to get out of that. I did hear constitutional law expert Anne Toomey say that because she signed the affirmation and the words, it's irrelevant what she did actually say. And now Lydia Thorpe, she also responded, had to respond to reports that she has missed a third of sitting days this year. So only attending 28 out of 44 sitting days and only attending 222 out of 493 divisions. She says that it's because she was assaulted at a public event earlier in the year. She said, I sustained serious nerve and spinal injuries in my neck, which required spinal surgery and a plate to be inserted. There's a scar on the front of my neck from this. I was ordered by the doctor not to travel and could not attend Parliament after I sustained the injury and during the recovery from the surgery. And she also claimed the year before she was absent from Parliament because of far-right threats. Remember the videos from the warriors of the warriors of the convict resistance. The first one, there was a sign in the background which said Lydia Thorpe Abo Whore, which Stephanos Oraculus Australian Meditations ended up being charged, and he pleaded guilty to using carriage service to menace and harass her over that sign. And then there was the subsequent video which mentioned her, which concluded with the Aboriginal flag being burnt and a Nazi salute being given. I remember Cass Ross claiming that the masked man in that video was Jamoan Roberts, who has made a comeback in NSN activism on the weekend and also on Twitter X, which we'll certainly get to shortly. He wasn't charged for that, and that was before the Nazi salute was outlawed online, and that was during the Voice campaign. And Lydia Thorpe, she appeared to be on drugs. She had that press conference where she was chewing gum with sunglasses and accused Anthony Albanese of wanting the fucking fascists to go and get her. Well, the alleged assaulter of Lydia Thorpe, it's not a far-right white man. It is one of her own mob who was in court today. Preston woman Ebony Bell, 28. So she appeared via video link at the Melbourne Magistrates Court, charged with multiple counts of unlawful assault and recklessly causing injury. So she's a Koori woman. So was this some sort of mob payback, as it's called, like what's been happening in Alice Springs with all of these interfamily fights in the city centre? So the barrister for Miss Bell, Manny Nicolosi, said that told the court his client was appearing remotely because of the threats she'd received after being charged by police, and was bailed by Magistrate Belinda Frenick to appear in next to appear in court November 22 and appear via video link. So this alleged assault on Lydia Thorpe occurred during the Dreamtime at the G AFL match on May 25. More Dreamtime at the G violence. Remember the at the 2022 Dreamtime at the G game afterwards, there was a didgeridoo that was used as a spear attacking another person. So Lydia Thorpe is a Richmond supporter. It's always between Essendon and Richmond. And police previously described Thorpe's injuries as minor. Who's telling the truth here? And also, Lydia Thorpe, she didn't look that injured when she ran up to the King. She looked very mobile there. Also, entertainment reporter Peter Ford. He was subject to a pylon on Twitter X for calling Lydia Thorpe a skank, and he'd first doubled down, but then later apologized, saying, "So yesterday in commentary about Lydia Thorpe, I used a word in this space that some people who I trust not outraged people on Twitter thought was unfair. Although it's a word you'd hear on Kath and Kim, I've deleted it. I want to make a point, not cause offense." Even though he's an entertainment reporter and the best in Australia, Peter Ford, he's always first with the exclusives and has got impeccable sources with many stars. His political commentary has certainly been on the right side, starting with the Voice referendum last year. So yeah, I've become a big fan of Peter Ford, and I first knew he was based when he mocked Lisa Wilkinson's claim that she was scared for her safety because she was stalked by a photographer while drinking a martini, and he was saying the horror. It's not like something she's she as being at Women's Magazine, she's probably sent photographers to go and photograph people. And now over at the Home Affairs office in Melbourne in Docklands, Victoria Police, they finally broke up the pro-migrant encampment that had been there for 100 days. Previously, the National Socialist Network, NSN, who most people who know of their activism call them for short, they'd previously gone there with their banner, "Fuck off, we're full." It was about a month ago on a Friday afternoon, and the police just let them have their say, and then they left. That's normally what National Socialist Network do. They turn up, have their say, and then they leave of their own accord. But this time, the Victoria Police decided to pepper spray them, attack them with batons, and move them on to a park over in Docklands. So with this new software, I think I'm able to actually play this here, though I have to do this with... This was published, this footage, by Madison News, though it doesn't appear to be NSN. Somebody who was recording from behind there's Joel Davis there. And there's I don't think I think the flowers are.
Take your mask off! Take your mask off!
fast forward to the end. That's where they're at the top. I won't play the whole thing now. Channel 9, whose headquarters, News HQ in Melbourne, is just down the road from the Home Affairs office. Of course, they've had it in for the National Socialist Network ever since Thomas Sowell punched their Afro-Caribbean concierge, who Tom said put his hands on Jacob Hirschnet's throat. Thomas Sowell was found guilty of that. So, of course, they took they're basically migrant squatters. Some are illegal boat people from Sri Lanka who came here under the Rudd Gillard governments during their open borders, where we basically were like the UK is currently, with the boats coming over every day. Now, these of course, the civil war in Sri Lanka ended in 2007, and why couldn't they go to the next safe country, these Tamils, who are Hindus, to India, because the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a Hindu nationalist, so they'd be much safer there. Of course, they want to come to Australia, basically to be economic migrants. We have a higher standard of living, but still keep their own culture. So, of course, Channel 9 took their side in this incredibly biased news report, which was presented by Tom Steinford.
Neo-Nazi thugs who gatecrashed a peaceful pro-refugee rally in Docklands have been pepper-sprayed during a violent confrontation with police. No arrests were made, but investigators are working to identify members of the far-right group. Gillian Lantouris reports.
A peaceful protest met with hate. Tensions reach boiling point as neo-Nazis clash with a refugee rally. Police forced to use their batons and pepper spray. Chased away from Burke Street in Docklands, the far-right group continued spreading their hostility nearby. Refugee protesters were marking 100 days and nights of camping outside the Department of Home Affairs office, calling for permanent visas for 8,500 people, when they were ambushed around 6 last night.
Saying things like "Hail Victory," "White Power," "Australia for White Man." These sort of chants shouldn't be allowed.
Many attendees, like Rathi Bathlot, have fled war-torn countries seeking safety in Melbourne.
It's make me really stressed and I was cried. It's hard to live like a refugee life.
Greens MP Samantha Ratnam was there.
It's frightening and it's devastating to see these racists so emboldened that they feel like they can come and attack a peaceful rally.
Politicians from all sides united, condemning the behaviour.
Disgraceful cowards, they hide behind masks and they absolutely do not represent any single part of this great state.
I hope the police can take appropriate action.
Though there's calls for harsher penalties.
We have strengthened powers on these matters and we're looking at what more we can do to strengthen our anti-vilification framework.
No arrests have been made, but police will be reviewing security footage in the hopes they can identify the individuals involved and hold them to account.
The government must take this threat seriously. We can't just rely on the police to keep us safe.
So they said they're scouring the footage to see to look for any offences, and they said this protest was attacked. Again, that is news hyperbole. They just turned up with their own sign. They had no intention, Joel Davis and the rest, to physically attack the migrants, and the only thing that they can do is, well, basically outlaw National Socialism, identifying as a National Socialism. I'm not sure if that would stand up constitutionally, but it hasn't stopped them banning the Nazi salute, Nazi symbols. Well, India's immigration policy, its refugee policy excludes Muslims because they can safely live in Pakistan. So again, I'm making the point. These Sri Lankan Tamil Hindus, wouldn't they feel safer in India? I mean, it's the next safe country. It's a culturally compatible. Some of you may remember my co-founder of the Unshackled Sukith, Fernando. He was a Sinhalese Buddhist from Sri Lanka and said that the Tamils should fuck off back to North India. Now, the National Socialist Network, they returned to the streets of Melbourne on the weekend and really ratcheted it up with their most audacious and provocative rally yet outside the Chinese consulate in Melbourne at Toorak Road. Where they had a sign, the yellow grubs hand over the baby mutilator, burnt the photos of Mao Zedong, and the Chinaman who fled back to China, who attacked baby Luca in Brisbane in August with a hot coffee, whose friend told local media that he deliberately attacked a white baby because he was denied a visa extension. Also burnt a photo of Mao Zedong and also two CCP flags. This is Thomas Sowell's speech, some of his speech. I've cut it down for time outside of the Chinese consulate.
White man! White man! Australia for the white man! The rest must go! Australia for the white man! The rest must go! Hail victory! Hail victory! Hail victory! Hail victory! Hail victory! Hail victory! White man! 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 Recently, a white baby was mutilated by a yellow grub that fled back to China. The Australian government, the police, and the media allowed him to escape the white man's justice. All we know of this Chinese man is that he had his visa denied. He was trying to get permanent status amongst us. And when his visa was denied, he told people he wanted to hurt white people, specifically white people. And so what he did, like the coward he is, was he attacked and mutilated a white baby. How much can we tolerate as white people in our own country when these foreigners come here with no respect for our law, no respect for our customs, and no respect that it's our land? If there was a white man in China and he poured boiling water on a Chinese baby, you can guarantee the Chinese government would have.
Now, I wonder if NSN's latest activism could cause an international diplomatic incident, because, of course, the CCP they don't like being criticized. They're very sensitive, and they recently attacked Australia as racist when at the United Nations, when we condemned their human rights abuses in Xinjiang province against the Uyghur Muslims and against the Tibetans. They said, "Oh, what about the war crimes you committed in Afghanistan?" That's always there they go to, and they have a lot of useful idiots here in Australia, CP simps, and I wonder if, again, probably the Victoria Police will probably look for charges to lay. Obviously, bringing flares and flame torches. That is probably they'll try to get them on carrying those. And now, going back to, this is worth mentioning, Tony Burke, our immigration minister and Home Affairs Minister. So he's denied Candace Owens a visa, but he's allowed to stay in Australia. A Islamic Jihad supporter, given him a visa from Gaza, Fayez al-Hassani. So who previously appeared alongside Palestinian Islamic Jihad militants at memorial events commemorating its martyred members, including his deceased son and brother. So you can see the priorities of the state and federal governments. They allow in actual terrorist supporters, but those who are considered spouting a hate speech, which is not a real thing. The only form of speech which should be deemed illegal is if it immediately incites violence. And well, certainly, NSM would like to see this Chinaman who poured the hot coffee extradited and given the harshest punishment. Obviously, NSN would like to bring back the death penalty for such offences, but obviously advocating for the return of the death penalty for specific offences, that's not an incitement to immediate violence. That's advocating for political change. And now, I'll tell you what is, I've listed their priorities of our federal and state governments. Do you know what their priority is of the Victorian judiciary? This was in the Herald Sun today. So Victorian magistrates, they were given professional development training on how to avoid giving foreign criminals sentences that would see them deported. So a hypothetical example was a Vietnamese student who had just arrived in Australia and had sexually assaulted an 8-year-old multiple times. So advice was given to the magistrates to sentence the accused to 11 months and 15 days so they would not be deported at the end of their sentence. So federal laws allow for the deportation of non-citizen criminals who have been in Australia for less than 10 years and sentenced to a year more in prison. So absolutely abhorrent. Is this screen share working properly? Yes, it is here working properly, though it's not showing up on my... So I was absolutely gobsmacked and absolutely disgusted by this. Again, they're going to be sent... we've got this magistrate... Brett Sonnet, who thinks that Jacob Pershnet deserves a prison be up to a year for performing the Nazi salute, raising his arm in an unnatural direction. Yet these magistrates are getting training on how to give foreign rapists, pedophiles, so they can stay in Australia. Absolutely bloody disgusting. And again, this is our two-tier justice here in Australia. Obviously, it has two-tier Kia and also has free Kia. In Australia, Airbus Albo, he is now first class Albo, as it has been revealed in Joe Aston's book that he's published on Alan Joyce and Qantas. This is the title here. I hope I uploaded it. No, I didn't upload it, but I'll get to it. Yes, so it's entitled Joe Aston's book, the Chairman's Lounge, obviously named after the Chairman's Lounge in Qantas, which grants all federal MPs membership of as a form of basically trying to buy influence. So the subtitle is The Inside Story of How Qantas Sold Us Out. So Joe Aston, he used to write the Rear Window column in the Financial Review, and it was the most savage column in Australian journalism. Like, if he wrote about you, you probably wouldn't be able to get out of bed out of bed like a week. Like, he was so savage that that's how he'd make you feel. He was that good at just his savagery. So he revealed, it was in an extract in the Good Weekend and the 9 newspapers, that Anthony Albanese, when he was Transport Infrastructure Minister, directly requested to then CEO Alan Joyce for free upgrades for him and his family on 22 occasions. And there was a lot of quid pro for Qantas under Anthony Albanese's prime ministership. Remember, Alan Joyce got Qantas to The Voice, and of course, Anthony Albanese made sure that Qatari Airways were blocked from extra slots at Sydney Airport, and so were Rex Airlines, the regional airline, which is now in administration. So basically, it's a corruption, Anthony Albanese, because he's lobbying for free upgrades, and obviously Alan Joyce certainly expects some things in return. And of course, when Anthony Albanese and his ex-wife Carmel Tebbit separated, his son Nathan got membership of the Chairman's Lounge. And of course, Lydia Thorpe is also a member of the Chairman's Lounge. So another one of the perks that she is happy to take as a member of the Parliament, which she says is illegitimate. And Anthony Albanese and his treasurer, Jim Chalmers' stewardship of the Australian economy, he continues to be poor. We had the International Monetary Fund forecast our inflation rate to be 3.6%, not at the end of this year, but end of next year. And that will have the second worst inflation in the OECD, with Slovakia having the worst. So we've got some inflation numbers coming out on Wednesday, followed by another Reserve Bank meeting on Melbourne Cup Day. So more bad news. Now, we have the US presidential election as the culmination of this super election year, both internationally with the Indian parliamentary election, the UK general election, the Indonesian presidential election. There has also been the Mexican presidential election. There have been various German state elections, and we also have here in Victoria, our Victorian Electoral Commission has begun counting the mail-in ballots for the local government elections. And finally, there was some mainstream media commentary about how mail-in voting for Victoria's local government elections has led to poor participation. It's compulsory, so all those who didn't vote or threw out their voting slips thinking that it was just junk mail will get a $100 fine. We should follow New South Wales and Queensland in-person attendance with political party affiliation disclosed because there is no party affiliation disclosed. They claim that they're independent, and in their 2020 Victorian government election cycles, the Malid Al-Hababi was disqualified from Marybank Council, pleaded guilty to offences involving stealing and forging mail-in ballots, but avoided jail. But the VEC decided not to redo the council election. So again, mail-in ballots are not safe and effective and secure. Now, there is thankfully less mail-in ballots this presidential cycle in the United States, and election officials in Pennsylvania, they are being proactive in thwarting election fraud operations. Because after the 2020 election, the Democrats rewrote democracy in the United States to claim that there's ever been any election fraud is to be an election denier and a conspiracy theorist and an insurrectionist. Donald Trump, he has learned in 2020 because he encouraged people to vote on the day, which of course we had in 2020, of course, during our Uncockables 2020 US election coverage. The on the day vote was counted first, which was all the Republican, which showed Trump winning everything, and then of course all the early votes and the mail-in votes were dumped overnight, and then Biden had won everything. So Donald Trump is he has told people to go and vote early. There's about 40 million votes that have already been cast early. So it's clear that Donald Trump has learned, well, if you can't stop early voting, you may as well get your voters to join in on it. Now, Donald Trump is ahead in all of the swing states, though there is the caveat that the polls have too overcorrected for the Republicans from 2016 and 2020, because obviously they didn't pick Trump winning in 2016, and Joe Biden didn't win by as much in 2020 as the polls were suggesting. But in 2022, polls were projecting a red wave in Congress, yet it was only a trickle. The Republicans only just won the House, and the Democrats retained control of the Senate. So that is the one caveat. But certainly all of the momentum is with Trump. And this is why the October surprises are just recycled recycled stories or just new allegations of old allegations. So we had last week Stacey Williams, a former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, accused Trump of groping her on the breast and the buttocks in Trump Tower in 1993, when Epstein invited her to meet him, and said that Epstein was living in New York at the time, even though he didn't buy his New York property until 1996. And she said, Stacey Williams, she didn't know what Epstein didn't know about his love of underage girls during that time. Well, neither did Trump. So she was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend at the time and didn't know. Yet she expects Trump to know, when she's clearly spent more time with Jeffrey Epstein than Donald Trump. And then you had former Trump chief of staff John Kelly telling the Atlantic's editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg that Trump said, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. And Kelly had previously told the New York Times that Trump would rule like a fascist if re-elected. And Kamala Harris held a press conference where she took no questions, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is, saying that he admires Hitler. And of course, they tried to link his Madison Square Garden rally today. Well, it was beamed into Australia today. It was completely sold out. Madison Square Garden is an iconic arena in New York City. It's not actually a garden. So this is where some people get confused. It reminds me of the Premier League venues who have misleading names. My team, Chelsea, play at Stamford Bridge. It's not actually a bridge, it's a football stadium. Neighbouring Fulham, they play at Craven Cottage. It's not actually a cottage, it's a football stadium. So again, and of course, Manchester United's home stadium, Old Trafford. It's a football stadium. It doesn't sound like one as well, but I'm digressing here. Now, because there was on February the 20th, 1939 at Madison Square Garden, the German-American Bund held a pro-Nazi rally. They, of course, said that said that Trump's rally was exactly like that. This was MSNBC, or as we call it, MSDNC. Yeah, have I got the video here? Video should play. Anyway, I'll try it. All of a sudden it's here. Yeah, I'll try it. Sorry, bear with me for a moment. Again, this is the limitations of this software here that it won't allow.
Happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally, a rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Well, maybe if Donald Trump had held his rally on February the 20th, maybe you could make a tenuous link. Oh, he's chosen Madison Square Garden on that day because of the pro-Nazi rally. But back in the 30s and 40s, there were two anti-Nazi rallies that were held at Madison Square Garden. And there was several Communist Party USA rallies that were held. It hosted JFK's birthday in 1962 when Marilyn Monroe sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President. It hosted the Democratic National Convention in 1976, 1980, and 1992. Does that make Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton Nazis? it hosted the Republican National Convention in 2004, and it was an all-star lineup at Madison Square Garden. So Melania Trump was there, made a really moving speech in support of her husband. Elon Musk was there, Dr. Phil, Hulk Hogan, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Rudy Giuliani. But the event was a part of the event gave the Democrats ammunition. Was a stand up by Tony Kill Tony Hedgecliffs. He made a joke about Puerto Rico being a floating pile of garbage, which has been disavowed by the Trump campaign. Don Lemon, who's looking old and definitely past his prime, because CNN aren't paying for his Botox anymore, said, "Oh, this could lose Trump the election." I mean, they shouldn't have hired him if he was going to make that joke. I mean, it's the audience didn't think it was funny. And yeah, it just gave it gave the enemy an opening there, but it should be forgotten in 24 hours. Yeah, Dr. Phil and Hulk Hogan, they want to be on the winning side. Dr. Phil has interviewed both Trump and Vance, and of course, Vance has come into his element. He's been excellent of late. Now, of course, Donald Trump, as Dawn mentioned, was on the Joe Rogan show for 3 hours. So it was basically just Trump in being conversational, which is the idea of the Joe Rogan show. And JD Vance went on Theo Von's podcast, which is most famous for when Roseanne Barr was taken out of context for saying the Holocaust didn't happen, but 6 million Jews should die right now. She was being sarcastic, saying that social media mandated opinions could mandate something as ridiculous as that, because Roseanne Barr is, of course, Jewish. Barr's not her real name. Now, Kamala held a big rally in Houston, Texas. It was attended by 30,000, but that was because they thought they were getting a free Beyonce concert or a Destiny's Child reunion, because Kelly Rowland was there in a pantsuit as well, but the only free concert they were given was 91-year-old Willie Nelson, who the Kamala version of his "On the Road Again" song should for Kamala should be "On the Blow Again." So I didn't know he was that old, 91 years old. Though he does seem more cognitive functioning than Joe Biden. If he tried to sing, then I think that he'd forget the lyrics. But of course, given all of the disruptions that there have been at Trump rallies over the years, Alex Rosen from Pedo Poachers and I Fight Kids decided that he would gate crash the Kamala rally, and he previously interrupted Hillary Clinton's a campaign event for Sheila Lee Jackson's a campaign for mayor of Houston, which she lost, and then she later died. So I will play this now. Again, this is Again, the new software.
All right, go time. I gotta get to my seat. I'm sorry, it's over there on that side. I'm sorry. Hey, Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Kamala! Why are all your friends friends with P. Diddy? Don't you dare! 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 Don't you try it! Don't you try it! Don't you try it! Hey! Come on! Let's go! Don't you dare try it! Let's go! Come on! Don't you dare try it! All Kamala's friends are P. Diddy's friends! All Kamala's friends are P. Hey! Stole my phone! He stole my phone! He just stole my phone! He just stole my phone! Do not resist! He just stole. I'm not his phone! He just stole. He just stole my phone! What happened? I'm moving! Dude, he filmed my. He threw my phone. It looked like you were. No! He's swinging! They were coming at me. I didn't swing at anybody. He threw my phone. Yeah, we're going. Sure, we can go outside. I'm not resisting. That's fine. Hey, but I need my phone back. He threw my phone, sir. That black dude took my phone from me. I didn't touch anybody. He threw my phone. He took my phone and threw it, sir. So, how are y'all not going to get him for that? He touched my property. I didn't touch them at all.
I'll look into it. We'll see if it gets lost and found. I'll get you some contact numbers for that.
Well,
but I'm just telling you out there flaying your arms.
Okay, because he's trying to grab my property, sir. I don't know about that. Okay, so how would he have my phone if he wasn't trying to grab it? So we could be able to find okay, but how would he have my phone if he wasn't trying to grab it? There was a ton of people on me.
Yeah, and you're flaying your arms.
Okay, but they are touching me. I was not touching anybody. How could I touch somebody with my phones in my hand? Apparently, when my property's grabbed, when I'm assaulted by a bunch of people, I'm the one that's cuffed for not even defending myself, for just defending my property.
Hey, what's your last name?
It's a ROSEN, sir. Rosen, ROSEN.
One more time.
No, I'm not being charged. I didn't commit a crime. It's a Rosen, ROSEN.
ROSEN?
That's correct.
Yes, Alex Rosen, he, apart from catching pedos, is also uses his, the platform that is cultivated to also push his own political views and positions. So he's currently at war with the nation of India. So he keeps doing like these engagement farming posts, which say, name something good that's come out of India. He also, posts that viral. It can either be a sign out the front or a doormat in this house. We say gay and retarded, and also calls the riding with Biden, now riding with Kamala influencers Harry Sisson and Chris Mulray faggots. And also he one of his adversaries also is the Krasenstein twins, who is that Ed and Brian Krasenstein, and they posted on one of the twins posted on their X accounts. They projected this onto Madison Square Garden. Trump praised Hitler. There were protesters out the front. And over in Philadelphia, Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, they they made speeches in favor of Kamala. Of course, Leonardo DiCaprio was Diddy's favorite at the parties. Now, another October surprise after Trump's super successful McDonald's fry cooking shift. The Centers for Disease Control, they put out on a health alert on their social media and on their official website, a E. coli alert linked to McDonald's quarter pounders. And so there's actually been a one death. It's affected McDonald's in 13 states. 22 have been hospitalized, and there's been 75 cases total. And so this has been traced to some sliced onions on a McDonald's quarter pounders. I had a McDonald's quarter pounder last week. So they are from the sliced onions from Taylor Farms. They're certainly looking like they'll be going out of business and have a lawsuit. So E. coli is a bacterial that, yes, it makes you sick, and some vulnerable people can die from it, causes vomiting and diarrhea. But yes, is it just a coincidence that Mandy Cohen, who's the CDC director, decided to put out this health alert about McDonald's? And she also appeared, Mandy Cohen, in a COVID winter vaccination drive promotional video with Democrat Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Oh, Mandy. So it is, yeah, they've certainly tried to, and McDonald's shares fell by 9 percentage points. So I wonder if they're also, because obviously we've had the Grimace Shake is down under and in New Zealand. I wonder if next we'll have Birdie the early bird accusing Trump and Grimace of sexually assaulting her. Grimace and Trump said, "Hey, we want you to taste the new Grimace Shake." And next thing she knows, she had Trump and Grimace's semen all over. Of course, Grimace's semen would be purple. Now, when Trump wins, we are going to celebrate with Grimace shakes. And Grimace is not campaigning for Trump, as I mentioned. He is on a tour of Australia and New Zealand, and he tossed the coin at the Melbourne A-League soccer derby on Saturday night between Melbourne City and Victory. Because McDonald's is a sponsor of my team, Melbourne City. Though his good luck charm, which was with the New York Mets when he threw the first pitch, didn't carry over to Melbourne City. They got thrashed in the derby by Victory 3-1. So yes, Grimace's charm doesn't work down under. But Grimace, the McDonald's factor is one of the things that's going to get Trump back into the White House. Although the world record holder for consuming the most Big Macs said he is voting for Kamala, and that Donald Trump should be in prison. So moving on to the UK, where it is really grim for patriots and nationalists. So Tommy Robinson, when he returned to the UK, he was arrested and remanded in custody by Kent police. Something's happened now. Again, technical issues with they are still getting used to this software. So this is from Rebel News. I had to get rid of the screen pop up because Eslo Vant wanted money to go and cover Tommy's imprisonment in the UK. So he's detained by Kent police on terrorism-related offences for refusing to give them access to the access code on his phone. This is because he had confidential journalistic sources. They had no right to snoop or gain information about them. This is to do with grooming abuse victims. But the Unite the Kingdom rally, it went off without a hitch on Saturday, though Lawrence Fox decided not to attend because he said that he hadn't got in contact with the new organisers. So there are a few people having a go at him for that. It did seem a bit like sort of backing out. It was a great success. The stand up, what are they called? Stand up to racism, no room for racism. They held a counter rally where one of these short blue-haired mothers had a profanity son, I think it was, saying "fuck off Nazis." This was the banner that was unfurled in the Unite the Kingdom. Two-tier Keir fueled the riots, and last week there was the death of Peter Lynch, who in jail. He was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months for violent disorder for what he said at the migrant hotel in Rotherham, Holiday Inn Express. Rotherham was, of course, ground zero for the grooming gangs because he called asylum seekers child killers and called police officers, MPs, media corrupt and scum. This was one of the signs. So he was a British patriot and a grandfather. So all corrupt PMs by who? MPs, Davos, police chiefs, TV, media, judiciary. So you get the picture there. So yeah, Keir Starmer is the one who killed him, basically, and that's why I included in my graphic for tonight that meme that had been going around. Murderer, killer of Peter Lynch, and as I mentioned before, two-tier Keir caught up with Albo in Samoa at Chogam. They got to tell each other for the first time. My mother grew up in public housing. My dad was a toolmaker. Also, we had we did have some common sense prevailing in Police Sergeant Martin Blake, found not guilty of murdering a black man, Chris Carber, who he was shot dead just with one bullet when he rammed an unmarked police car and an actual police car while fleeing on foot after shooting in a nightclub. So, of course, it was at the behest of Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. The Metropolitan Police Federation said he should never have been prosecuted. Of course, the fact that the police were that police officer was in threat for their lives, and you can see Jeremy Corbyn, the now independent, saying justice for Chris Carber. So he was first convicted at the age of 13, so he wasn't a good boy who didn't do nothing. And then we've had an asylum seeker who has been charged with the murder of Rhiannon Sky White, 27, who was working at an asylum centre, stabbed in the neck in a screwdriver at a railway station after she left for work. She was working at a migrant centre in Walsall FC Beacott Stadium, so they're housing them in stadiums now. I shouldn't say asylum seeker, legal migrant, and he's been named, thankfully, the alleged murderer, Deng Chol Mejek, over a packet of biscuits, and arrived illegally back in July. So again, I don't want I don't know why she chose to work in a migrant centre, maybe the good money, but of course I'm not victim blaming here. It's absolutely abhorrent, disgusting. No wonder Tommy Robinson lives in Spain. No wonder James Goddard is in exile in Thailand. No wonder Father Calvin Robinson is also leaving. And I should just add that often revolutions that happen all around the world, the main inspirations for them are often people living in exile. A common example, the most prominent example is, of course, Vladimir Lenin, Russian Revolution, of course, Ayatollah Khamenei in the Iranian Revolution in 1979 was in exile in the UK. Also, Channel 4 was at it again with exposing the far right expose. So have I got the article here? Too many articles open here at the moment. So of course, Channel 4 hired a hope, not hate activist. This is from the Jolly Heretic, Edward Dutton. So he changed his name, this hope, not hate activist, David Shuckman, to Harry Shuckman is his name. Changed his name to Christopher Morton. So he's the son of Eton-educated David Shuckman, the first BBC science editor. So remember, as far as we know, Channel 4 didn't employ any actors to pose as far-right activists like they did with their Dispatches episode inside a Reform UK. So Channel 4, it's owned by the British government but funded by advertising, unlike the BBC, which is funded by the license fee, which is extorted from British people who want to watch TV under the threat of imprisonment. So yes, this is the thing. The entire British media, including the fake right-wing media, is entirely against the real patriots, including Farage. He still disavows and disparages Tommy Robinson and other patriots. And the Conservatives, well, even though Robert Jenrick is talking the best talk, it looks like the Conservative Party members will vote for Kemi Badenoch. And I saw Constantine Kissin say that, you need a non-white Conservative leader to sell immigration cuts because everything is so rigged. So basically just basically just got to play by their rules again, totally. And also a newly a newly elected Labor MP for Amesbury, Amesbury, has been suspended by the party after CCTV emerged of him appearing to show punching a man in Frodsham, Cheshire. So he represents Runcorn and Helsley. Initially claimed he felt threatened on the street following an evening out with friends. So yes, we've got a Labor MPs literally kicking their constituents. Normally they just do that metaphorically and in Westminster. And also there has been a prominent, it's just broken tonight, a prominent British soap opera actor who has been charged with the rape of 5 teenage boys. So I wonder if they're employed at one of the BBC's soap operas. But yes, another high-profile celebrity nonce paedophile to join the ranks of Hugh Edwards, who of course didn't go to jail at all for having child abuse images on his phone. Now, that concludes the end of Tim's News Explosion for another week. The second last Tim's News Explosion before the US election. So obviously we will be on, the eve of the US election Australian time next Monday. And so, of course, Tim's News Explosions and Wilms Front interview programs are on the Wilms Front's channel. So make sure you subscribe, click the bell to allow for notifications, and all streams, make sure you give a thumbs up, like, comment below. But the US presidential election results live stream will be on the Unshackled YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey channel, like the Queensland election was. As I said, we're going to celebrate Trump's victory with a grimace shake and some McDonald's. And I forgot to mention before that Trump has promised when he's president again, the McDonald's ice cream machines will work great again, and photoshopped Biden wearing the Trump hat with his ice cream. It's actually the Biden administration. They did actually launch an investigation into broken McDonald's ice cream machines. I'm not sure about you, but when I'm at McDonald's and the ice cream machine's broken, I'm like, because I always want a McFlurry. Like, obviously, I know not to get angry at the staff because it's not their fault, but it just ruins your McHappy experience because you also want wanted some ice cream as well. I mean, you can't get it. You just the actual McHappy Day in Australia is Saturday, November 16th, but looking forward to a McHappy Day on Wednesday, the 6th of November. Now, remember, I cannot do all of these streams and Tim's News Explosion, Wilms Front, and our election coverage without your support. So please consider supporting financially, either through a Substack subscription, so you can take out a monthly membership for $5 per month, or annual $50 per month, or for a founding membership, you can take out a $500 per year. Now, remember that I use subs who send email alerts for Unshackled Production. That's where the Unshackled Productions arc is. And also the unshackled.net/membership. That's where I still publish Unshackled articles. The unshackled.net/membership, bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month, or $50 per year, $100 per year, gold $250 per year, or platinum $500 per year. And Of course, every Tuesday, I'm on Paul Brennan's breakfast program on Reality Check Radio New Zealand with the Wilms Australian report. So Dewey DeBoer, who hosts their dialogue on Mondays, is currently on a family holiday in Japan. He will certainly be back in the Back to the Future Trump era. I'm certainly looking forward to going for things going back to the way they were under Donald Trump. And I think the difference why 2024 is 2016 again I'm indulging, is that Trump has been able to campaign because the COVID lockdowns ruined. He couldn't hold rallies, connect with real people. Dawn Browning says, I want ice cream now. You scream, we all scream for ice cream. And there will be reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft continue to be published. I just published, so they are on the Unshackled YouTube channel, a report from Tiger Mountain Facebook page. I just published him and David Thrussell's report on previewing the US presidential election. They had a debate about whether the US Trump election will actually change anything. And he's got the Melbourne Underground Film Festival at the Black Sheep in Hawthorne. It's early to mid December. Richard said that the official poster with the official dates in it will be released this week, and of course we'll share that as well. So that concludes tonight. Stay sane, stay free, stay optimistic, and also McLove everything as well. Good night.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.